Thank you for joining me on today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra, and I want to increase your financial IQ with today's episode. The topic today is 529 plan rollovers to Roth IRAs. So you probably know 529 plans are the most popular and common and effective college funding vehicle for parents and grandparents and other family members. What we've seen over time as 529 plan legislation has evolved is that the government continues to tinker with the rules and expand definitions and add in more flexibility. We're going to talk about one of those features today that came about through the Secure Act 2.0, which was passed a few years ago. And for the first time, it allowed unused 529 plan funds to be rolled into the beneficiary's Roth IRA. The beneficiary, it's kind of, I wish they named it something different. It's the child. When you have a 529 plan, you have an owner, which is usually the parent or could be a grandparent or anybody else for that matter. And the child who you're funding for is the beneficiary. So you could roll over beneficiary unused 529 plans for a beneficiary into a Roth IRA. And the advantage, the perk of this is that it could be done without a tax penalty. Planning to overfund 529 plans, I don't know if that's a great idea, but it does happen sometimes. So this is a nice feature. Sometimes you put money away for children and they don't go to college. This feature would come in handy. Sometimes they start school but don't finish. This could come in handy. There's a lot of instances where you may end up with unused 529 plan funds or leftover 529 plan funds. So let's discuss the rules because, as you might expect, there are rules associated with this 529 plan to Roth IRA rollover feature. The first thing is that there's a lifetime limit of $35,000. You can't roll over from a 529 plan to the Roth IRA more than $35,000 over the beneficiary's lifetime. You can do this and have no tax implications and also no 10% penalty that you usually see when you do non-qualified withdrawals from 529 plans. So just to set the stage for this, typically the rules say that if you take money out of a 529 plan for non-qualified reasons, such as the child didn't go to school, so you're just taking the money back, or the parents, for whatever reason, just want to take the money and spend it, could be on vacation, they would be subject to a 10% penalty. The 10% non-qualified withdrawal penalty does not apply in the rollovers. So you have this lifetime limit of $35,000, but it gets done with no taxes and no 10% penalty. That's the first point I wanted to get across to you. The second one is that the 529 plan must be held for 15 years before a rollover could be executed. So if the child, let's say you started saving at 10 years old and the child doesn't go to school, you can't roll it over at the child's age of 18. Have to hold it for 15 years. Pretty straightforward. The third and next thing I want to share with you is that you cannot roll over contributions that were made in the last 5 years. I imagine the government did this to discourage people from just funding into the 529 plan to get the money to the Roth. So you need a 5-year gap in those contributions. Now, to be clear, if you contributed money earlier than the 5 years, as well as some money during the 5-year blackout period, if you will, you could roll over the earlier money and then wait for the 5-year clock to exhaust itself and then do that money. So there is flexibility, but contributions made in the last 5 years are ineligible for rollovers. The fourth point I want to make to you is changing beneficiaries may, and I want to emphasize may reset the 15-year clock all over again. When you have a 529 plan, one of the really attractive features is you could change beneficiaries. So I have 2 children. I have Marissa and Dominic. I was allowed to switch money from Marissa's account to Dominic's and vice versa. If I had more children, I could do more children. It could even extend to other family members, including nieces and nephews. It is unclear at this point whether that would reset the 15-year clock. If I transferred the money from Marissa to Dominic, would that restart the 15-year clock, or would the original contribution or account opening for Marissa stay intact? We're waiting as of this recording for IRS guidance on this subject, but that's something to be mindful of. The fifth point I want to make is that rollovers cannot exceed your annual Roth contribution limit, which currently stands at $7,500 in 2026. So you do have a lifetime limit of $35,000, but you can't do that all at once. You have to abide by the annual Roth contribution limit. Now that tends to go up over time, but right now it's at $7,500. So using that maximum, $7,500 per year, it would take you over 5 years to get to the maximum based on the current limit. Basically, $7,500 times 5 is $35,000. So it would take you 5 years. The limit will go up. It always has. The Roth IRA contribution limit will inch up over time. So it'll end up being less than 5 years when most of us might entertain using this strategy if we have unused or leftover 529 plan funds. But keep that in mind. The sixth point I wanted to make to you is that the beneficiary of the 529 plan, I already discussed this. You have an owner. Let's say I'm the owner and my child, one of my children, is the beneficiary. The owner of the Roth IRA needs to match the beneficiary of the 529 plan. So that's pretty straightforward. Number 7, and the last point I want to make before some commentary, and then we'll finish up, is that there are no income limits for these rollover contributions from the 529 plan to the Roth IRA. And I make this point because if any of you are familiar even a little bit with Roth IRA, you may know that there are income limits. If you make too much money, you're not eligible to make Roth IRA contributions. Now, granted, there is something, backdoor Roth IRA. We're not going to get into that. But what I want you to take away is that there are no income limits for the ability to roll over from a 529 plan to a Roth IRA. Income doesn't matter. Anyone is eligible to do it as long as you meet the previous 6 rules that I outlined for you today. As I said at the top, this is a great planning tool. It seems to me it provides relief for parents and reduces the amount of worry they have if they have too much money in the plan, if they oversave, or if something happens where the money is not used exactly as intended. So I think the government did a nice job with this program. Does this mean this really attractive feature? Does this mean that we should go out and purposefully overfund 529 plans? I don't think so. I mean, there might be some exceptions to that, but generally I think you should still plan to fund 529 plans based on your overall wealth building strategy. And then if things evolve and unfold in a certain way and there's unused or leftover money, then we could put this option on the table and make sure we abide by the rules and take advantage of this feature if it presents itself. So thank you for listening to today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I hope you found the information valuable. I was looking forward to discussing this with you. If you want more information about the work that the team and I do here at Elliott Wealth Management Services, go to our website, elliottwealth.com. You could get information about all of us, the work we do, as well as sign up for a complimentary consultation. Thanks for listening today. I'll be back with you on the next episode of the Simply Financial Podcast very soon.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of Osaic Wealth, Inc., and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of information provided at these websites. Nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to or your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management Services, LLC, not affiliated with Osaic Wealth, Inc.